The Treehouse Library. One early morning, a boy was strolling with his dog along a narrow path in the forest. "His bag looks heavy. I'm sure he has tasty bread and sweet fruit inside that bag," said a monkey in a tree. "Let's follow him." The boy and his dog stopped at a small lake in the forest. With the sun coming up just in time, the whole lake was shimmering gold. After looking at the lake for a long time, the boy and his dog sat down on a log nearby, and he took out a book from his bag. "What is that?" the monkey asked his friend. The other monkey said, "I don't know, but they look really happy. Let's go down and ask them." The monkeys ran down the tree, stood in front of the boy and his dog, and asked, "What are you guys doing?" The boy was so startled that he almost dropped the book. The monkey felt bad about startling him, so he asked the boy again, and this time much more nicely, "What are you looking at?" The boy answered,
"This is an adventure book. It's very noisy in the city and no one reads books there anymore. So we came here to read some books. I can read to you. Would you like to listen?"
The boys started reading to the monkeys. The first book whisked them away to Antarctica. Emperor penguins lived in Antarctica, and their backs were black and their bellies white. Seeing the monkeys shivering from the cold, the emperor penguins brought them inside their huddle and circled around them. The monkeys realized how warm their huddle was. The second book carried the monkeys to the hot and arid desert of Egypt. The monkeys rode on the back of a double-humped camel and went in search of water. "I see an oasis," shouted the monkeys. So happy to have discovered the oasis, the monkeys and the double-humped camel hugged each other. Soon the boy noticed that he had been joined by other forest animals, and the small space in front of the log was getting crowded. He said,
"If we have any more animals joining us, we might fall into the lake. This place is too small for all of us."
Hearing that, the forest animals led the boy and his dog along the acacia-scented trail, and they arrived at a large empty space. It was empty except for a huge zelkova tree. One of the monkeys said, "This is a secret place that only we know about. The place is big enough for all the animals around the world to come and sit together." The boy continued reading. The next book whisked everyone away to sail the great ocean and to explore a jungle. They climbed up a cliff and to the summit of the tallest mountain in the world. And their adventure finally came to an end when they plucked 5 twinkling stars from the night sky. One of the monkeys exclaimed, "It was such an exciting adventure. Can you read more books for us?" The boy said,
"Sure, but I've read all the books I brought with me today. I have 7 more adventure books at home, so I'll bring them next time and read you those adventure stories."
The monkey said, "Thank you. How about we get you all the books from the city? We'll be so happy if you can come back to read to us on the day of the next full moon." Before the boy realized it, it became dark, and the boy walked out of the forest following a firefly and returned home. That night, all the forest animals gathered together. They decided to work with animals in the city in order to bring books from the city to the forest. And they decided the tawny owl, barn owl, and bat should go first to convey this news to the city animals. With all the forest animals cheering, the tawny owl soared into the night sky. The barn owl and bat followed the tawny owl and flew high up in the sky, and they went to visit different places in the city. The full moon was hanging in the night sky, and the city animals got busy after hearing the news. From the roofs, the dogs and cats threw down books. The monkeys caught them and placed them on the backs of the elephants and giraffes that had escaped from the city zoo. The animals finished the mission of transporting books swiftly and in an orderly fashion, and they walked out of the city and disappeared into the forest. No one saw them marching away that night. The youngest girl, who lived in the chocolate house, was sleeping in her bedroom on the 3rd floor, and in her sleep she saw a giraffe, but she thought she was dreaming. The next morning when she woke up, she was happy telling her family that she had seen a brachiosaur in her dream. The full moon was finally up in the night sky with its light shining on everyone's head. The city and forest animals were all gathered in front of the Zelkova tree. The boy and his dog, whom every animal had been waiting for, finally arrived. The animals cheered with joy, and the fireflies on the Zelkova tree started to glow all at once, making the tree light up like one huge light bulb. The boy started to read his books. Hushed and quiet, every animal listened to the stories. When the moon waned over in the west and its light grew faint, their 11th adventure, which had led them to an encounter with a gigantic octopus, ended with them escaping to a cave at the bottom of the ocean. It was then that the frog sitting next to a bowerbird started singing, "It's raining." The boy spoke to the animals in a hurry.
"I can't read you the books if they get wet. Let's carry the books to a safe place."
The bear was nice enough to offer his house. His house was a deep and wide cave, so they were able to store all the books there. Unfortunately, it did not leave any space for the bear or for anyone else. The boy and the animals stood at the entrance until the rain stopped. The boy said,
"It'd be nice if there were a library in the forest."
One of the animals asked, "What is a library?" The boy explained,
"It's a house where you store books and read them anytime you want."
One of the monkeys said, "That sounds super nice. If there is a library, then you can go on an adventure anytime you want." The boy told the animals,
"I have to go back home now."
His face was wet and flushed. The animals asked him, "Can you come back on the day of the next full moon? We'll have a nice library built by then." The boy promised he would. Finally, the full moon was up in the sky again. The forest animals couldn't wait to show the boy the library they had built. They waited for him all night, but he didn't come. While the animals waited for him, the moon waned and became full again countless times. Tawny owls flew to the city to look for the boy, but unable to find him, they came back with no news of him. Not to mention, the night in the city became so bright that the tawny owls could not keep their eyes open anymore. Time passed. A boy and his big dog were walking into the forest. He spoke quietly to himself.
"It was here somewhere."
The boy and his dog stopped by the lake, and the boy closed his eyes. A whiff of the acacia scent tickled his nose. The boy and the dog shouted at the same time,
"The acacia smell!"
They started running, following the scent. When the boy pushed the overgrown weeds to one side, he saw the Zelkova tree and the open space in front of it. But no one was there. But the boy saw a red coral mushroom next to the tree. When he went close to it, he saw the hidden stairs. The boy slowly walked up the stairs. When he got to the top of the stairs, he saw Zelkova flowers. There were too many leaves and flowers at the top of the stairs, so he couldn't see what was beyond the stairs. When the boy craned his neck and poked his head above the leaves and flowers, he saw a library with a large window. The boy tiptoed into the library. The bookshelves against the walls had countless books. As the boy walked around the library, looking at the books, he discovered 11 books that looked old but familiar. They were his adventure books. He slowly took out a book from his bag and placed it next to those 11 books. On the shelves, the boy found a book which looked interesting, and he sat in a chair and opened it. The book was about the adventures that the frog had had. The boy discovered that the book next to it was about the bear's adventures, and next to that was a book about the giraffe's adventures. The library was full of the adventures that the animals had had and written about. Every day, the boy read the books of their adventures in the library, and he waited for them to come back one day from the adventure they must be on now. The Monkey's Adventure. One winter night, the monkey met a bar-headed goose that was just having fun, swimming in the lake by herself. The goose said she had come to the forest from the world's highest and tallest winter mountain. The monkey became friends with the goose, who told him about her friend that lived on the winter mountain. She also told him that her friend was able to climb the highest cliff. The monkey wanted to meet this friend of the goose and learn how to climb to the tallest place in the world. The monkey could climb the Zelkova tree, which was the tallest tree in the forest, but he dreamed of climbing to a place that was taller than the tree. The monkey embarked on a journey to the winter mountain, following the direction the goose had given him, but it took him much longer than he'd expected. Going up hills and down dales, the monkey finally arrived at the mountain, and there he met a Himalayan tar who was on her way up the cliff. "Hi, I'm a friend of the bar-headed goose. I came all the way here from the Zelkova forest to learn how to climb a cliff from you." "Welcome, but you have no hoofs. You have soft hands and feet instead. Without hoofs, you can't climb a cliff." The monkey was terribly disappointed. There was no way for him to trade his fingers for hoofs. He hated himself for not having hoofs, and he spent several days by the foot of the cliff, moping and staring down at his fingers. When he made up his mind to go back to the forest, he suddenly heard someone crying out for help. When he looked up, he saw a bar-headed baby goose dangling precariously on the cliff. She had been trying to fly over the mountain when she got blown away by the wind and fell. Her wing was hurt and she couldn't move. The monkey started to climb the cliff to save her. As the tar had said, it was not easy to climb the cliff without strong hoofs. The monkey's feet and hands hurt terribly. The skin became torn and his hands and feet started bleeding. But the monkey did not give up. The tar happened to see the monkey trying his best to climb as she was passing by. The tar hurried and got to where the monkey was and said, "Here, get on my back." The monkey refused, saying, "Thank you, but I'd like to save the bird of my own. But I'm so grateful that you came to help me." "I can't save the bird with these hoofs of mine. You need your hands to save the little one." The tar climbed up to bring the monkey close to the bird, and by extending his arm, the monkey was able to grab the bird with his hand. After rescuing the bird, the monkey tended to the injured bird, and soon he discovered that he had calluses on his hands and feet. Later, the monkey rescued a few other animals: 2 bar-headed geese, a ruddy shell duck, and a snow leopard. Every time he saved an animal, the calluses on his hands and feet became thicker. Finally, the monkey was able to climb to the very top of the winter mountain with the tar. When the monkey struggled, the tar pushed him. When he got to the very top, the monkey was very happy to have realized his dream, and the tar was also happy because she was finally able to be on the mountain with a friend, a place where she had always been alone. The mountain animals gave the monkey a big send-off when he left the place at the end of the winter, and he came back to the forest. One day, the bar-headed goose came to see the monkey in the forest. The goose said there had been a huge avalanche on the winter mountain. With the other forest animals, the monkey left for the mountain to save animals that might be trapped under the snow. One day, the bar-headed goose came to see the monkey in the forest. The goose said there had been a huge avalanche on the winter mountain. With the other forest animals, the monkey left for the mountains to save the animals that might be trapped under the snow. One day, when the sun was slowly going down, the boy finally saw the familiar shadows he had been longing to see. Epilogue. The monkey picked up the book that the boy had placed next to his old 11 adventure books. The book was a picture book about the boy's adventure. When the boy returned home after getting wet in the rain, he became sick again. He had to go to the hospital in a bigger city and be treated for a couple of years. While fighting to get better, the boy made friends with other young patients in the hospital and continued reading books. When he finally became all better and returned home, he decided to pay his forest friends a visit. That was how the boy and the forest animals came back from their adventures and met again in the library. The night when they met, the fireflies lighted up the library and they stayed up all night reading their adventure stories to one another.